OK, last week, the Commonwealth Secretary-General warned COP26 in Glasgow that if we lose vulnerable nations who have battled with courage and resilience, we lose the fight against climate change. She warned that if the gaps on emissions were not closed and more money was not made available, then many nations risked being subsumed by rising sea levels. And she urged everyone at COP to dig deeper and come together. Let's find out if she believes everyone has dug deep enough. And I'm now joined by Baroness Scotland. The UN Secretary-General said that the collective political will isn't enough to overcome some deep contradictions, and our fragile planet is hanging by a thread. We're knocking on the door of climate catastrophe. Was what was agreed yesterday good enough for the Commonwealth, and particularly for the small islands within it?
I think it wasn't good enough, but it was part of the way. I mean, Antonio Guterres was absolutely right. We are at code red. And it is deeply worrying that we have to dig even deeper. The truth is that we are now at 1.1. And if you look at the devastation that that is causing to many of us, you've seen the effects here in the United Kingdom, but look at what's happening to the small and the vulnerable member states. In our Commonwealth, we have 32 small states. 25 of them are island states, and many of them are facing this existential threat now at 1.1 degrees. If you look at what's happened in sub-Saharan Africa, we have had double the number of droughts, floods. What does that mean? That means that there are 45 million more people in Southern Africa who are vulnerable to food insecurity, that we have had 45.6% of those who would have had better food now have substandard food. These are terrible realities.
The representative from the Maldives, in a sense, reflected some of this and said that yesterday's decision really was a death sentence for them. I mean, how could it possibly be acceptable in that situation?
Well, I think it's not acceptable, but let's think about what has happened, because, you know, I'm very much a cup half full person. So what happened in Glasgow? Number one, we are all agreed that 1.5 is the aspirational target. No one is saying that the science isn't pointing in that direction. For the first time, we have not only governments and local governments, but we've got business and the scientists and all of us pointing in the right direction. We have an agreement on methane. We have an agreement that we have to do a lot more on deforestation. We have got an agreement in relation to how much money is needed. But what has not happened? We haven't got the mechanisms of how to do it.
Secretary-General, would you just hold that for a moment? We have some breaking news. The Queen has decided, it's been announced this morning, that with regret, she will not be attending the Remembrance Sunday ceremonies this morning. That is breaking news that has just come in. And we're now going to talk to Rhiannon Mills, our royal correspondent, who I think is in Whitehall right now. Rhiannon.
That's right. Of course, there was a huge amount of anticipation about whether or not Her Majesty would be here for Remembrance Sunday. On Thursday, we were told that she would be attending. However, in the last few moments, we have had a statement from Buckingham Palace confirming that, unfortunately, Her Majesty will not be attending the cenotaph today. Now, I can read you the statement that they've sent through, which says, "The Queen, having sprained her back, has decided this morning with great regret that she'll not be able to attend today's Remembrance Sunday service at the cenotaph. Her Majesty is disappointed that she'll miss the service." So I think one thing to point out there is they're saying that she has sprained her back. Also, I understand that the back sprain is unrelated to the recent doctor's advice that we know that she's had over the last couple of weeks to rest. It is obviously really unfortunate timing, but this back sprain has happened very recently, and we're also told that nobody regrets the fact that the Queen can't be here more than the Queen herself. She is deeply disappointed, not least because she regards today as one of the most significant engagements of the year, and of course that is because she is a member of that wartime generation. During the Second World War, she saw her father rallying the nation as king, and also of course her husband, Prince Philip, who died earlier this year, served during the Second World War as well. Just to stress though, we are hearing that because of a back sprain, the Queen will not be able to attend the events here today. However, other members of her family will still be here in force, in attendance. Of course, in recent years, the Queen has handed over that responsibility of placing a wreath at the base of the cenotaph on behalf of the nation. She's handed that responsibility to her son and heir, the Prince of Wales. He will again carry out that duty, but just to stress, we will not see the Queen here at the cenotaph today.
Rhiannon, thank you very much indeed for that announcement that the Queen will not be at the Remembrance Day ceremonies this morning. Baroness Scotland, the Commonwealth plays a major role in today's event, and you yourself, I think, lay a wreath. It will be disappointing, I think, for many of the veterans.
Absolutely. The Queen is adored rightly. She has shown total commitment to the Commonwealth, and she is much loved. So an opportunity like this to see her and to pay homage for what she herself also did, because people do forget that she was an engineer, she was making her contribution as well. So I think there'll be a lot of sadness, but everyone will be wishing her well, everyone will want to see her again, and she is the beating heart of most of the love that is in the Commonwealth. So we do wish her well.
Well, I hope that this is just something temporary. It sounds as though it is precautionary, but we will no doubt be hearing more. Now, let us return, if we may, to the issues that arose out of yesterday. Part of your role as the head of the Commonwealth Secretariat is to essentially bring all the members of the Secretariat together. Is part of your job of the next year going to be, frankly, to stop some of your members, India, Australia, for example, drowning others, for example, Caribbean islands?
Well, the most important thing to remember, and the great thing about our Commonwealth, is we all sit around the same table. And I know that both all of our members care desperately about the small states. We're going to have the next Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Kigali next year. Climate change is bound to be at the top of the agenda. And it's really important for us to remember, Trevor, that it was the Commonwealth back in 1989, way before COP was ever invented, that said that if we did not address this matter, it would be an existential threat. And the Commonwealth is so tired of being right. We want no longer to be right. We want to be able to deliver that 1.5. And I do know that both with India and Australia, there is a love, an affection, and an appreciation of the small states. And when you sit around that table, eyeball to eyeball, it's a very different occasion. And I think the only place where that actually happens is round the Commonwealth table. And we will be urging, encouraging, and depending on our member states to do what they've always done, and that's to stand in solidarity. It's important to remember that in Malta, when our leaders came together, just days before the Paris agenda, the Commonwealth came up with 2 degrees, implementation, and a 1.5 aspirational target. We will be pushing and pushing hard, and I know that our small states, who are literally seeing this as a death sentence, will not give up, because if they do, they'll no longer be here, and we're not willing for that to happen. We will fight.
Secretary-General, thank you very much for your time this morning. I hope we'll return to this in months to come.
Thank you.